Welcome to AnthroDish, the show about food, culture, and identity. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Dugnan. When it comes to alcohol alternatives, there's a lot more going on in recent years. But there's also an important distinction to be made between the non-alcoholic options at a venue and the wellness beverages that are inundating our social media feeds, think poppy or other sort of drinks. So why are we seeing such a boom in non-alcoholic drink options, and how do they stand out from wellness beverages in their own specific category? I've been really curious about this, so I invited my dear friend Ren Navarro back to explore these trends in the beverage industry. I'll also link her other episodes in the show notes because there's so much to learn from Ren each time she comes on. Ren is a culture consultant, drinks expert, and founder of Beverages Group. With over 20 years of experience in corporate management and over a dozen years in the beer industry, she's helped everyone from family-run breweries to multinational brands build spaces that people actually want to be a part of. What started as honest conversations over pints has evolved into company-wide transformations, policy audits, inclusive hiring systems, value statement creations, and real community engagement across industries. Whether she's teaching, advising, or helping revamp policies, her mission stays the same: build cultures that reflect the values that people say they believe in. She loves tattoos, goats, and gives pretty good hugs. She said pretty good, I would say very good, because I've had the ability to experience that myself. Today, Ren and I explore some of the experience, tastes, and forms that non-alcoholic beverages are taking, what hop water is, and why these non-alcoholic options offer much more inclusive and diverse experiences than their wellness counterparts. Here's my conversation with Ren. Welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me back. What is this, number 4?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
I've started to lose track, so usually that's around the 4 mark.
I don't know. A bunch.
At this point, season regular. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. For those that don't know you and haven't listened to previous episodes, you mind giving a bit of background of who you are, where you're coming in from, and the type of work that you do for folks?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Ren Navarro. I run Beverages Group, also known as Beer Diversity. I've been doing that since 2018. The work I do focuses on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I think a little bit of disability conversations, especially around mental health. And yeah, I'm in the land of Oktoberfest.
Oh, yeah.
Which is Kitchener-Waterloo. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been doing it for a while, but also my background is corporate and my background is also craft beer. And I am certified for the WSET, which is Wine and Spirit Education Trust through the UK for wine and for spirits. And then I'm also certified for the alcohol-free, which is aficionado. So, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about non-alcoholic drinks before, but we're going to focus in on that today. I'm curious to get your perspective on it because I remember 2017, 2018, there were, a lot of different non-alcoholic beverages coming up, like Seed Lips in Toronto or Seed Lip. So to me, it kind of always started to trickle into the sphere, but it seems like it's a bigger boom right now. So what do you think is kind of contributing to the interest and the rise of non-alcoholic options?
I think it's two pieces of the same coin. It's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
You know when you try to use a line and then you just blow it? Welcome. I have blown it.
Always.
Please keep this in.
I can't do them. I'm with you. I can't do colloquialisms at all.
I can't do it. I can't do it anymore.
They're so hard.
But I think the big change is it's two factors. It's folks who are Gen X, so my generation, who are like, yeah, you know what? My doctor says I have to control my cholesterol levels and my whatever, and I'm pre-diabetic, and I'm, this and this and this. And so there's that side where it's like, I have to do this for strictly health reasons because I partied like a fiend for 20 years. And then there are the up and coming generations who are of age. So probably like the Gen Z guys and a little bit, Alpha's still a little too young, but, and then elder millennials too, who are just like, I gotta cool it. I want to run that marathon.
Yeah.
Like all my friends are qualifying for like Boston Marathon now. Like that's my Instagram feed is just filled with these people who are like, I'm running the Boston Marathon. I was like, Mazel, I will watch it. Just send me a link, but I'm not doing it. This is not my goal. And I think too that the pandemic really, and I know we don't talk about the pandemic in the same way. We're very like, this is an old thing. We don't care about it. 5 years ago is not that long ago. It feels forever. However, having us in lockdown, you did one of two things. You either embraced your full feral animal side and you did whatever you wanted, or you just tried to survive it, which meant that, I mean, I don't know about you, but we got a Peloton bike. We got the membership. We were playing Wii golf. We were doing all of these things.
Sweet.
But to come of age during that period of time, it almost stunts you. And prior to that, alcohol consumption is very social. So you have this period of time where you're 19, you're between 18 and 20, and you're not able to really go and drink with people. If you live at home, you're drinking with your parents, you're not doing this. So you're finding other outlets. And I think, and I would argue that social media, like TikTok and all of that stuff, is what got a lot of those younger folks through that period of time. And if you were 15 at that point, you're now 20, your brain got shaped by some weird stuff.
Yes.
It's you think that, to show your appreciation for someone, you don't give them money, you don't give them tips, you clang pots and pans at them, or it's
oh my God.
so right, like people standing on their balcony at 9 o'clock, stand on your balcony, bang a pot for a healthcare worker who's probably sleeping now, hates you.
Yeah.
Whoever came up with this has never worked night shift. Like, you're
At all.
just garbage. But I think that like the pandemic years of lockdown really changed how we talked about alcohol. And I think that the first, even like my generation, we spent our government bucks for the first few months, on wine and all of these things, trying to be fancy to try to like feel better and feel like a little more normal about things. But then halfway through, you're like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I thought lockdown was going to end. I thought lockdown was going to end. I thought lockdown was going to end. And I can't just be hungover in my house
every day.
Right? So I think that it was a period of time where we didn't really get to talk to each other about it. We did a lot of Zoom calls of drinking, and then halfway through the Zoom calls, people didn't want to drink. So then we're just talking, which is weird. So then we just didn't want to talk. And so I think we get out of it, right? Like, obviously, COVID is not over. Please do not come for me. COVID is still a thing. But in terms of this conversation, I will say, like, post-COVID, because we're not taking it seriously anymore. So obviously everything's fine. But because we are no longer watching what we're doing, we're no longer talking about it in that same way. We were detailing things, and we were like archaeologists in our own lives. You get out of it and you go, well, I don't want to go out as much as I used to. I don't have the money also in this economy. But you have a bunch of 18 to 21-year-olds now who are like, I don't understand the social aspect of this. And I think we've talked about this in the past, but we put so many restrictions on the youth. In terms of, if you're driving, you can't have a drop of alcohol. Obviously, the cannabis industry has taken off, even though in Ontario, the government fumbled it beyond. And the Ontario government, like, shout out to you for fumbling a lot of things, but like
everything.
It's weed.
Yeah.
Like, how did you do this wrong? But they did it wrong. Like, so they're saying, well, you can't drink and drive, you can't smoke and drive, you can't do these things. So we've put so many restrictions on what a person up to the age of 25 can do, or 24. What, you don't want to do this. And so I want to go have a good drink, but I obviously can't drive, because if I have a drink, now I got to like do this other thing. So I think that the part of it was that they're going and they're asking for better non-alcoholic offerings. And this does not negate the kids who are still like doing shot skis and like whatever. Like, you still exist. That's why the industry has not completely collapsed. But I think on the whole, there's an entire generation of people who just don't understand alcohol as a social thing, whereas a lot of us do, right? You go visit your friend, you bring them a bottle of wine. Like, these kids are not bringing you a bottle of wine. So I think that, like, so having that as a big difference means that you have to get really creative in how to get them to leave their houses and come to your space. And so I think that, Seedlip and others that are doing, like, there's Ish, which is a line of liquors that are non-alcoholic. Breweries, especially, again, influenced by America, the States are ahead of us for that. La Croix was created by a brewery. Right. So it's, so the Canadians are like, we have to do this too.
Yeah, classic.
So I think that's kind of the big difference, is that the last 5 years really influenced how we talk about non-alcoholic beverages.
I think that's really, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I mean, when I have coffees with my friends and we're, 3 coffees deep just complaining about all the politics of the world, often it's that people don't talk about COVID as if it existed, or like lockdown restrictions, because for various reasons, people just want to leave it behind. But it really has had such a lasting impact. I think at the 5-year mark, we're really seeing the long-term implications of that. What you're saying too got me thinking about, previously, especially for people who were out socializing, your non-alc option was like a Diet Coke or a Coke. And that just doesn't always, like, you can't just keep drinking that. I don't know. I always feel guilty when it's like, I'm just refilling my bottomless Diet Coke over here.
Yeah. I
You know?
mean, and I think that was just showing how lazy things were because we weren't
Yeah.
thinking about it. It was like, oh, well, you came out like great, but I'm not going to make you feel welcome to stay.
Yeah. Yeah. So can you speak a little bit to like what are some of those in the industry doing to make non-alcoholic drinks enticing? What are people looking for? What do they want out of the experience with that?
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking again, younger generations, and which makes me feel so old to say it, but younger generations, they have like the sweet tooth thing is real. So
Yeah.
you're doing beverages that are sweet. You're doing
Okay.
things that are sugary and candy like, because a lot of these folks who are not drinking don't want alcohol, right? They don't want it to taste like. Don't give me a non-alcoholic gin and tea, or G&T. Like, give me something with an umbrella and like a slice of fruit and
Right.
make it like super tropical and fruity, and then I'll just ride the sugar high for like
Yeah.
the next 20 minutes. And I think that like that also has forced us to change how we look at it because for a while we always talk mocktails, which is such a terrible name anyway. There's some really great folks out there talking about things. Evelyn Chick immediately comes to mind. She's in
Oh,
Toronto,
yeah.
owns Simple Things, and Amma, she's an empire and I love her. But she said, don't call it mocktails. If
Mm,
you want someone to feel comfortable, like you can call it low and no, you can call it temperance beverages, like give it a real adult name, and give it a thing that, give it a real spot in your menu. Don't make it as a weird, like, I got to ask you for the non-alcoholic listings. Put it in a space where we're all holding the same menu and someone orders a drink that isn't like Shirley Temple Light,
yeah. Oh my gosh.
right?
Yeah.
Like, give it a real name, give it a real thing, give it the same kind of love that you would give to your alcoholic section. And I think that has been one of the biggest changes. But also understanding that there is a crafting that goes into it. So if you are getting a non-alcoholic beverage, you're not getting a $4 Coke, you are getting a $10 to
Yeah.
$12, temperance beverage that once it's at the table, no one knows that you're not drinking. Because I think we need to honor that for folks. There is still this weird, like, oh, you're not drinking, what's wrong with you? Right?
Yeah.
It automatically, and like, what's wrong with you can be anything from like, you have a problem to you're pregnant. Like,
Yeah. Or all of them.
or all of them, right? So it's just always these weird things. So I think that like taking some of that, the mocking out of it and letting people
Literally.
just exist. And, if you're not ready to talk about things, I mean, we're such an oversharing society, and that is because of all of these reality TV shows, which like, no hate, but like, we're not famous, we're not
Yeah.
rich. Live your life. If you don't want to tell someone something, don't. There is no
Yeah.
camera following you. Like, I'll tell you, no one cares. There are no ratings in your life. But I think that big switch, and then just talking about it and having this ability to where it's, if you are having a non-alcoholic beverage, it doesn't mean you're doing it the whole night.
Mm-hmm.
And like, let's get away from, if you're having a drink that with no alcohol, there must be something wrong. Sometimes you just want a break. Sometimes
Yeah.
you just, maybe you're the one who's driven and you're over the age of, 25, and you're like, listen, it's been a long night, and I just want something in between, but I want something that tastes good. And I don't want to switch over to pop because of the sugar content, and I don't want anything that fizzy. So
Yeah.
I think that we're really right now in the best era for those kind of things, and we're also not calling it like a health fad.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is super key because we're also seeing it alongside the like wellness drinks that are, like the CBD based ones, the adaptogen ones, those ones. I mean, I'm getting pummeled all the time with that. I feel like I bring it on myself out of my own like curiosity.
Like the Lang.
I know I do it every time. But I think that's a really good point, is that it's so focused on the craft and the artistry and like the layers of experience that you get when you're drinking it versus this idea of like drinking something for health. But is it fair to say that there are some non-alcoholic drinks where there is like a health conscious spin to that? Like, are you seeing anything like that, or is it strictly staying in its own lane?
I mean, well, like you said, the adaptogens and all of
Yeah.
those, like, I mean, but those are all like RTD, so ready to drink category is a weird category, right? Because immediately they're like, it's got this health thing to it. And it's like, I just want to drink. That's all I want. And I don't know that section as well because a lot of it contains fake sugars. Or kind of the sugar alternates, and I can't have most of them. So I'm
Okay.
immediately not the consumer.
Fair.
So it's like I can do, but I'm gonna be real sick, which is
Not
such a
worth.
wonderful thing to be able to be like, I can't have it because of that sugar thing. I once had a fight with a stranger over Splenda because she said to me that Splenda was natural and you should be able to have it. And I was like, I don't understand your thinking. Okay, sure. I don't know me. You're correct. It's,
Yep.
God help anyone with peanuts as an allergy. Those are natural.
Shrimp.
That's what I was saying. And she was so mad about it. She was like,
Ugh.
it's a natural plant. I was like, I am fully aware of that. It does not make me feel good. Who are
Naturally
you?
does not work.
Yeah, so I think that the thing about adaptogens and all of those drinks is back to that whole health craze and that core, which I think is very separate. So a lot of the folks who are drinking those are also younger, and there's just, I mean, this, we're slapping things on these labels that are making these huge promises, and a lot of them are university kids. Like I see a ton of university kids. And they're just, they're drinking these things where it's like natural caffeine and it's like low level. And it's like, no. Like, read how many milligrams of caffeine you're getting and then understand what that means for your poor little heart and for like everything else.
I was thinking about you a couple weeks ago because I knew we were doing this interview, and I grabbed an Alani just out of curiosity. Again, I don't know why I do this to myself, but I was like, oh, that looks really pretty. And I know we're going to be talking about different sorts of beverages, so I'm just going to try it. I was just like, the whole time, I also have like a heart issue. So I forgot the whole like elevated caffeine level.
Yeah. But I think that's like the sneaky part. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I say I can't have these sugars. I have tried them, like, to a detriment to myself, but I have tried them. And I do find that there is such a specific flavor to them that it is, I don't know what it is. If it's some of that fake sugar or just like the extra stuff that they put on. I mean, for anyone who hasn't seen it, just like go into a grocery store and like pick one up and look at the ingredients. There are like 50 things in these drinks, and they are making all of these claims. They're telling you that there's like vitamin C, and there's vitamin A and B12. And, just take a supplement.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to pay $5 for a can of like weird mixed stuff that tells you it's going to keep you awake and keep you focused. Like, it's not going to do any of that.
No, yeah, it's a great reminder. And I wonder, there's like a coating on the top of your mouth that I find with all of them where I can tell that there's that experience in all of them. I'm curious to kind of go back into the non-alc drinks. You had mentioned when we were preparing for this that some people in the industry are in denial of this being as popular and having such a great interest in that. What's going on with that kind of component?
I think that some of that is just trying to keep the industry as pure to the original view as possible. And I think that also there is like kind of deep down inside the finances of it, creating a non-alc beverage, like, beers, and again, those RTDs, it's not cheap. If you go to a brewery that has made their own non-alcoholic beer, it's probably like $1 cheaper.
Really?
And I mean, again, that's technology, right? We're not at the point where you can just like casually make it. Escarpment Labs, based out of Guelph, has created yeast. Yeah, they've created a yeast for non-alcoholic beer to kind of give it like those flavors. The issue of it is that fermentation creates alcohol, right? Because it's, eating the sugars and farting out all the good stuff. That's my scientific definition of it. But you don't want it to do that. You want to keep it to low to no alcohol. And so to do that, you're doing arrested fermentation, and you're doing these different pieces. You're doing reverse osmosis to the water. You're doing all of these things that cost money and time.
Right.
So it's like you're brewing a beer, but you're doing smaller batches. You're putting in all of this work for it. And at the end, if it doesn't taste right, people immediately know, right? There's a very distinct smell that is really rare to find a beer that doesn't have it in terms of non-alc. And I think that immediately, too, that I think of that are doing it really well. Bellwoods has Stay Classy, which I accidentally fooled a friend with. I had ordered it, and he had a sip, and before I could tell him that it was non-alc, he had ordered one for himself and
Oh.
just like was chugging and saying this was so great. And I was like, by the way. And then Harmon's out of Toronto.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Also, it pours like a beer. It looks like a beer. It smells like a beer. And I don't know what their secret is, but it's great.
Yeah, that was
And
my pregnancy go-to. It was
yeah,
magic.
right.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, Partake, which is Ted Fleming, who's a sweet baby angel of a human, you know, he created that business because he had Crohn's. You know, and so like all of those issues, he had to quit drinking, and so he wanted to be able to partake. And I think that his stuff is really great. And I think that, you know, you're seeing these places pop up that are putting in the care for it. And I think what they're also doing, the three of them really are talking to beer drinkers, and they're talking to people who actually do drink alcohol. Whereas I find that some of the issue is that there is still an us and them split for some places. And they say, well, you know, if you're not drinking beer, like, then just don't come here. And I think they're still kind of taking it in the way of like a person who doesn't drink beer goes into a brewery and the first thing they ask is, do you have wine? Right. And the answer is no, we're a brewery. And I get it. However, if you are going to keep that person away, like give them the thing they want first, because then maybe they will try your product and they learn to love it. But again, in this economy, you don't have as much time as we used to. I think before inflationary things happened and tariffs and the state of this world, which is incredibly grim, you could play with all those things and you could do it. There was still a cost, but the cost wasn't as high as it is now. I mean, ingredients are, you know, exponentially more expensive. And I mean, you talk about this in, you know, in food in general. Beverages are foodstuffs at heart, right?
Totally.
Like, take your food ingredient, liquidize it. Here we are. You know, so it's also liquidize is my new word.
I love it.
But I think that, like, you know, breweries are just struggling to stay open. And so it is really hard to say we're going to jump into this non-alc sector. I think that it's why you're seeing more places doing hop water, because the cost is lower. You already have your hops and you have water. And then I think to, you know, and again, to simplify it, but I think to make it, there is obviously some trial and error for it, but it's not as an expensive trial and error.
Okay.
To go through all the steps to make a non-alcoholic beer and you mess it up in the end, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Hop water, it's hops and water. In whatever special way you do it.
Yeah, special spin to it. Do you mind talking a little bit more about hop water? Because that's something, like, I know I've had it and I just didn't know what it was. And so I'm curious to get your perspective on, like, what is it, how it's produced, and what to kind of expect in terms of like flavor experiences and tastes, and bringing some like literacy to that, because I don't really know how to enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that it's still pretty regional. I think, like, you know, I was in BC a couple of years ago and they were like, hop water, what? And I was like, oh, everyone in Ontario is drinking it.
Yeah, it's the hottest thing here.
It's the hottest thing for people who don't want alcohol. But it, again, I mean, it's starting to move around the country, but it was in pockets. And I don't know if because we were influenced by some of the things that the States were doing, there were some breweries that were, you know, playing with like CBD infusions and doing all these things. But here, so it is, I mean, the name really describes it. It's such a terrible name for it, but it is definitely a, like, these are the ingredients. It's like a gin and tonic. This is hop water.
Yeah.
It's like 2 ingredients. But really, I mean, it's hard to do because you do have to hit that sweet spot of it not being really grassy. If you were to get your hands on hops and put it into like carbonated water right now, it'd be the worst thing you've ever drank. It'd be like taking grass clippings from your lawn and just being like, this makes for a great drink. But really, everyone's doing it in different ways. So they are doing, it's always carbonated water, I believe. I don't think anyone's doing it still. But something about that carbonation and then the hop oils and how they're combining. But again, most of them are keeping it fairly secret because it's a simple sounding idea, but it is not the most simple to do. Some will double hop it, so they'll do kind of a boil at the beginning for your first number of flavors, and then a little bit after to kind of give it a little bit of that bitterness, a little bite. For most of them, and I think of, again, Wellington does it, and I think they were probably one of the first who were really doing it on such a large scale. You end up with a slightly citrus flavor. So again, when people think about hops, they're like, it's going to be bitter and it's going to be this like burn and it's going to be like too pithy. It's none of that. It's fairly clear. It is carbonated, depending on the hop that they use, because again, with hops, you can get different flavor profiles, anything from like mango to to orange to lemon. And so some of those will have kind of those like really nice citrusy notes. So you almost get kind of like a really light lemon spritzer of sorts.
Oh, okay.
Great Lakes does one that has, I keep thinking it's lychee fruit in it. It isn't. They've done
Ooh.
the hop gives you a citrus note. They add a little bit of vanilla, and the mix of it, that's, I keep swearing it's lychee. But again, you know, they're making that in-house because again, they have access to all the water. Carbonating water is really just, it's CO2 forced through. You can do it at home too if you have a kegerator. Just crank that gas and really just push it through. And then really they won't say how they're doing with the hops, but most are using pellets because that's what most breweries are using. So pellets are kind of like concentrated hops squished into like little rods, and then they're adding that and kind of boiling it out and going from there. So, but it's definitely showing up a heck of a lot more.
Yeah.
And people are talking about it. I mean, I know that in Nova Scotia, Two Crows is doing it, and
Oh, cool.
and they're still doing it. And so there's, you know, it's like bits and pieces, but it's a slow uptick because the education around it and the name.
Yeah.
Hop water it needs better PR, but it's honestly it's zero sugar too. So they're not adding anything to it. So some of that's, you know, it's not overly sweet. If they are adding something like vanilla, there will be some like naturally occurring sugar, but they're not dumping anything in it. And really, it's one of those things where it's like you can add something to it. You can make that an alcoholic drink if you want to, like throw a shot in anything and boom, it's alcoholic.
Yeah.
But like it's again, it's something different that you can carry with you. The cans all have great designs too. So there's nothing about it where it just like screams that you're not drinking alcohol. And also it's a great break when you are drinking alcohol.
Yeah, it seems to me like a more natural transition drink if you have been like drinking some form of alcohol to go into it. So I appreciate you explaining it because I know it's like it's one of those things where I want to like it, but I just don't know how to get in, which has always been the case for me with certain types of drinks. But I'm curious too, you know, when we're thinking about like wellness beverages and the world that represents, that's awfully like white lady pipeline to alt-right, right?
Yep.
Are we seeing that in the non-alcoholic beverage space as well? Or how much of the non-alcoholic space is a reflection of like Black or Indigenous or Asian experiences and traditions as well?
I think that the difference is that the non-alcoholic sphere is about including more people. So the irony of it is that folks are really pushing to be like as inclusive as possible because it means that you can be, you know, you'll have like the Muslim kids come and hang out because they can have the drinks.
Yeah.
You'll have, you know, pregnant folks of all walks of life coming in because now they have something. And so it's really funny that like when you look at the wellness drinks and who it brings in versus a non-alcoholic beverage and who it brings in, it is a very different picture.
Yep.
Like
increasingly
I don't know,
so.
right? I don't see the alt-right getting really excited about hop water. For whatever reason, that's cool. Please don't get excited about it.
Yeah,
I love
they
it.
can stay out.
But yeah, I think that because the non-alcoholic beverages are still about the social aspect of it. This is not a go run your marathon, show up and then have this beverage. Whereas I think that a lot of the wellness beverages do have that, right? Do your crazy like 3-hour workout and then this is the thing to like help you with your electrolytes and your B12 levels and your whatever insert here. And that is a very specific person that they're speaking to. Whereas on the non-alcoholic side, that is anyone, whether you want to take a break, you know, for a month, you want to take a break for an hour, you don't drink for religious reasons, you don't drink for health reasons, I still have a beverage for you. And it'll still look really good and you'll still have a great time. And you can feel that we have respected you as an adult because we have not given you a juice box. Nothing wrong with juice boxes. You can only have so many.
Yep. Unless you're Ray.
Unless you're Ray, and then that's different because she is under the age of 50. But I think that, you know, so again, there is more of this inclusive built into it. And I mean, also like financially it works for places because they're charging you more, which is like, let's, you know, I mean, it was capitalism all along, but
yeah.
But I think that it's really specific. You know it's fresh. You know someone's making it for you 9 times out of 10. They're rarely just opening a thing unless it's beer. But beer, they have date codes, right? Again, it's a food product. It has to be. So that's the difference too with non-alcoholic beer versus regular beer. It's considered a food.
Oh, okay.
Well, the preservatives are different, right? So hops are a natural preservative, but you're not always putting as much into those and the way that you're packaging it. And then there's a whole like pasteurization thing that you don't necessarily have to do with beer.
Right. Okay.
You know, some will pasteurize beer because it's getting shipped around and it needs to last longer. But for non-alcoholic beer, the rules are very different and they're more strict.
Okay.
So you're not getting that weird like I just tried making this.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
to be a little bit more step by step and with the intentions of how they're making it.
That's awesome. That's really cool to know. And it makes sense, I guess, too, that it's framed that way. Has that been a barrier at all for people creating non-alcoholic beverages in Canada? Because I feel like there's like a very particular approach that like Health Canada would take that's very different than like our neighbors to the south in terms of
for
their
sure.
regulations.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
in the
lack of.
States, well, in the States, you can literally open a brewery in your garage.
Yeah.
You just need to get it in, like inspected at some point. But like, I think that Health Canada definitely does play into it because non-alcoholic beer has to state the like calorie counts, your vitamins, your whatever, like what does this contain, right? Like you're looking at a full like food information square on this where you don't have to do that with an alcoholic beverage. So you do have to be really aware and very like careful of also what claims you're making, because if you make a claim, Health Canada is going to be like, prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, and that is also the difference with this, like, the health drink. They can make a lot of, they get away with making a lot of claims before someone's like, maybe don't say that. Whereas I feel with non-alcoholic beer, like immediately you cannot make the claim because someone's watching for it.
Interesting. That makes me think of like, I can't remember what happened with Emergency, that like fizzy packet.
Yes.
There was some sort
of, they made a claim. I think their claim was that it was like a guarantee that you wouldn't get sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Health Canada was like, you can't do that. Because I think now they're like, at the first sign of a cold, take it to assist. I mean, I should take it so I don't die of scurvy, but like, I mean, these are my anti-scurvy pills. Ma'am, that's emergency.
Exactly. Sorry. I'm composed.
I love this.
Me too. You've provided a lot of like really cool examples of different drinks that people can look to for non-alcoholic beverages. But for people who are curious to learn more, for people that are, maybe specific to Ontario or Canada more broadly, what are some of your go-tos for those that are like first exploring and getting into non-alcoholic beverages?
I think that there are a lot to try out. The RTDs, I like RTDs, right? So ready to drinks are great because they're easy. I think if you're going to explore the non-alcoholic stuff, be really specific in what you're looking for. So there's some really great stores. There's Neoni, which is online. I think it's like Neoni. And he's online, but he's also at St. Jacob's Market.
Okay.
And then there are a couple spots like here and there that you can talk to folks. So really talk to people about it. I always find the RTDs run a little sweeter than I like. And I think that's just kind of the nature of the beast because again, sugar levels, a lot of that would be fermented out if you were making alcohol.
Right.
So keep that in mind that you will run a little sweeter. If you do not have a sweet tooth, go with some of the like don't start with the rum and Coke ones. If you're going to do a mix, gin and tonic is okay. It's again, a little sweeter. If you really want to try it and you want to put in the investment, grab a bottle of liquor. Into like the NA liquors. That's kind of where I started because again, people were like, yeah, these are good. They're a little sweet. And then I kind of got into them after. HP Juniper is based in Quebec and they do a whole line, but their gins are, I can't stop talking about them. And I talk about gin a lot because gin is one of the ones that you actually can do fairly well. Because again, it's botanicals. So like, don't do the non-alc vodka. They've just sold you a bottle of water with like some weird stuff in it. I have yet to find one that I like. So if someone has one out there, like, please tell me. But so far, so no. But HP Juniper will do like full botanicals. They have a pink label and a black label gin. They're both good, but the pink one is like amazing.
Cool.
And honestly, it fools me every time I make it into a drink.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's just,
awesome.
I don't, they just like nail something about it. And then there's Ish. They have a spiced Caribbean rum that is really good. Again, for mixing. I haven't had it just like as a shot on its own. Some of these are great for mixing. Some are fine on their own. Again, what are you looking for? Right? If you want to just like a sit and sip with it, those are a little trickier because there are things that are hard to have like for the whiskey burn. It's usually ginger. So and a ginger burn is very different from a whiskey burn. And also the question is how well do you know the alcoholic version of that?
Right.
So for me, whiskeys will never win because I love whiskey. And there've been some great products out there, and I've just at the end been like, yeah, it was okay. Thanks. But I know, like, I don't, if I have a glass of whiskey, I usually do like a little cough at the beginning, and like I'm not getting that.
Okay.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
So again, if you're gonna go and try a thing, go a little safer to start. Don't go with the like I expect this to be, and also never expect it to taste exactly like its alcoholic counterpoint.
I like that. Yeah, that's super helpful because I find that's something I definitely went in cold, and it was a much sweeter beverage than I was expecting. So that's super, super helpful.
Yeah,
and
RTD's sweet.
Yeah. Yes, especially like what's available at the local LCBO in Guelph.
Yeah.
We're not trying to impress anyone here.
It's and I think that like that's part of the issue too, is that there is still kind of, even for those who control what we get, we've got a massive LCBO like Uptown Waterloo, and it's honestly like they kind of do the non-alc sector dirty because they don't really care for it.
Yeah.
And they don't have to, which I think also benefits the non-alcoholic stores.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then it means that you're going to them. And because I can't find everything here. There's a ton of stuff online. There's a ton of online stores that you can go to. Even like, what is it, well.ca? Like they have a ton of stuff, right? So like you can get it everywhere. But just don't go into an LCBO or an SAQ or whatever your like local equivalent is and expect it to have a really large section that is being controlled by one human and their whims. So it's rarely a force through. You'll barely even find Guinness Zero. But it's I mean it's in Costco. You can buy it as a 12-pack, I think.
Okay.
But again, like even Guinness Zero, the flavor isn't quite there, but the look is there.
Okay.
And so again, never go into it being like, if I'm going to have the non-alcoholic version of, it's going to be the exact thing. It won't be. Like kind of, and I don't want to say lower your expectations, but as humans, we expect everything to be like one for one.
Right.
And like scientifically and just through production, you cannot do it. But I mean, I like Guinness Zero. They're still in the UK. That's Big Drop. They were in Canada for a bit. They made a big push through, and it didn't stick. And I think they were ahead of the curve.
That's a shame.
They found a way to make non-alcoholic beverages without doing a de-alcoholization. So what most will do is make the product and then go back and like remove the alcohol. And they were able to do it without that step.
Wow.
Or at least have very low percentage to it. And honestly, their stuff was like so good. But the market wasn't ready for it here. And so it just, again, right, like your timing and I feel that with alcohol, if you're ahead of the curve, it's okay.
Yeah. But when you're making a big shift.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's really interesting to see and kind of understand what's out there. And I think that because, again, those younger generations are really not asking for alcoholic things, we have to get better with it because they're the ones who are going to start playing around with things. And they don't have the brand loyalty that we have.
Yeah. It's all just gone.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love that for them.
I love it because I think it's a shakeup for the industries because then they have to be the ones to say, I want to make a thing so good that you return to this. Because they know they already have us. If I'm already buying your stuff, I'm going to continue buying it.
Yes, I love that. I love like this whole conversation has me really reflecting on what non-alcoholic beverages can be as like a social experience and as a tasting experience. So I deeply appreciate you coming on to kind of break through the mess of wellness beverages versus non-alc as well.
Oh my God, of course. And I mean, I could dunk on wellness beverages all day, but I think that, again, that's also a specific socioeconomic marketing piece, right? Like, I mean, it's also, like Monster beverages were for people who were like BMXers and extreme sport guys. And like, honestly, most of the people I know that drink Monster are not those people, but they just really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But there's such a creation of the ideal client behind those. Whereas again, in the non-alcoholic sphere, it's like, I just want you to have something tasty.
Yeah. You've sold me. I'm so much more excited. Like I already enjoyed them, but now I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I like we always have stuff in the house, and some of it is like brand name stuff. Like we have, like Peroni Zero,
Oh yeah.
and I think that there's stuff where it's nice to have that break and just have it for whoever. There's also, and I did a great disservice. I didn't even mention it. Non-alcoholic wines. There's some
Oh yeah.
fantastic ones out there. If you're gonna start playing with those, go for the bubbly. Bubbly is the best way to start. It was explained to me by David, who owns Clear Sips, which is another place where you can get
Okay.
non-alcoholic stuff. He said bubbles trick your brain
Yeah.
because if you are having a sparkling wine, it's the first thing that you expect. And then everything else kind of comes after it. Red is still a really tricky wine to do because of the tannins, and you expect like such a specific mouthfeel. And white's pretty darn good. So
It's so good. Yeah.
it's really good.
So we have a few people in my family that are like recovering from substance use. And so from the get-go, like as long as I can remember, our Christmas and holiday drinking has always been these like special carbonated fruit juices that are like they're not non-alcoholic wines. They're like these specific fruit juices from the States that my grandparents would bring up. And the white ones are like always so crisp and good. There's a peach one too that was like perfection. Yeah. But
Sobeys has it.
oh, yes. Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right?
But yeah. I think a lot of those are getting better. And I think that even the packaging, right? Like it still gives you the illusion of, and again, doesn't scream anything to people who are just, I mean, humans will mock for everything. So it's really nice to definitely feel like this is just part of a regular routine.
Yeah, just bringing everyone in again. Well, thank you so much, Ren. I so appreciate you coming on. It's not a season without you. Do you mind sharing where people can find you online if they want to follow along?
Yeah, on Instagram, it is Be Diversity Group, and the website is bediversitygroup.com.
Thank you so much, Ren.
Thanks.
That was Ren Navarro. I've linked her website and social media in the show notes below if you want to follow along and learn more. You can also find all this at our website at AnthroDish.com under episodes. Thanks so much for listening to AnthroDish Podcast. Subscribe to the show on Apple or YouTube or wherever you listen. And if you like the show, please give us a rating on Apple Podcasts to help get the word out. For more AnthroDish, you can sign up for my newsletter at sarahdugan.substack.com or find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, or Blue Sky at AnthroDish Podcast. I always love hearing from you and what you've been learning from the show. Music production was done by Lucas Wojcicki at lucassound.com. AnthroDish is produced in partnership with the American Anthropological Association. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.